Hello, good evening to OmniBros Live, the pre-show to Suicide Squad. I am OmniDog. I am joined by the Omnibus Collector himself and Comics Guide. And how's it going, guys?
Hey, man. How's it going?
All right.
We are sponsored by In Stock Trades, and we're going to be discussing our best reads of the year so far. It doesn't have to be published this year, but we would have had to have read it this year. That's a lot of words. It got read this year by us. So InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collector's editions up to 50% off. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. At the end of every month, there's always a $50 gift card given to a lucky viewer out there from InStockTrades.com. Order of $50 or more in the United States gets you free shipping. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. So I keep track of my reads through Goodreads.
Because you're a smarter man than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out I've already read Delicates. I have Delicates on my read list from the Omnicat show I'm just now seeing, and I read it in May. I don't even remember reading it, but it says it was a wonderful sequel to Sheets. This book has also now jumped into my top 10 of 2021. Read Sheets, then Delicates. Then you may send me the gold coins you may owe me. Wrap them carefully, please. Okay, so I gave it 5 stars in May. So there's my first really good book that I read was Delicates, the sequel to Sheets that I read back in May and forgot all about it 2 months later.
Well, that's the good thing about a mind that's going is you get to re-experience things.
Yeah.
That's
good thing I have it on Goodreads, or I'd have just reread it and said,
yeah, you'd have
hey, let me
completely
put this on Goodreads again.
Because that's something I find happening myself a lot now is just forgetting things, and I go back and it's like completely rereading something again for the first time. The problem is when you reread something but your opinion has changed, because for me in particular, reading comics for so long, a lot of the things that I'm revisiting, it's like, oh, I was a younger teenager at the time. My taste has definitely changed since then.
Yeah.
And I'm being like, okay, I'm not really a fan of this anymore. So there's some stuff I'm afraid to reread because I don't want to like find that I dislike it now. It's terrible.
I remember that happened when we did a group read of Identity Crisis.
Oh, that's a good one. I bet I would, if I reread that now, I would dislike it. I thought it was such a cool like concept because it was one of the I started reading like a lot of comics, not started reading comics, but started reading a lot of comics by going through the main events chronologically in each of the main universes. And so that was one of the events that I had picked up in paperback for DC. And I remember like, cause it's very different from the other events. DC events are usually large scale cosmic deals. And this was so grounded and it was like a mystery story and it was different than everything that I had read. I really liked the characterization of seeing like Deathstroke beat the cheese out of everyone in that one scene. And the whole, like, he uses 90% of his brain or whatever the hell it is. It's something that's so like thinking back on it, I'm like, that's such a cheesy line. Like that's so dumb, but like, it was cool. It was really cool. It has good artwork as well. But in retrospect, I'm like, damn, if I reread that now, I bet I would not feel the same. 100%.
We flagged it. It was the OmniBros. Are you sure you weren't part of that?
I don't think that was.
I hated it the second time I read it. I hated everything about it, including the art.
Dang. So I better not go back to it.
No, you shouldn't. Stick with your good memories. I think I even sold it out of my collection. Yeah, it's not here anymore. I sold it
Got
right
rid of
after that.
Got rid of it quick, huh?
Oh,
F
Mr. Tex is happy with his copy of Peepland as graphic novel of the year. Nice.
Good choice, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't on Unbox and Chill. I haven't been feeling well all day, so this episode's only going to be about an hour because everybody wants to see Suicide Squad, and I need to go to bed.
Well, on that note, that's a good segue for Lou, the book that you were talking about.
Yeah,
man.
Read that you've enjoyed this year, Lou.
So because I've gotten curious about the Suicide Squad that's coming out, actually it's out right now on HBO Max, which I'm going to be watching right after this is done. I ended up picking up John Ostrander's run on Suicide Squad, originally published in, I believe it was 1987. This is all the fun that I had hoped this would be. Absolutely a ton of fun. If this is a caveat, you have to understand the context that this was written in, because this is very much, at least I've read about 20, 30 issues so far. This is very much pro-America. In the first few issues alone, the Suicide Squad is going up against a group named the Jihad. And as a group named the Jihad, you can expect, guess who's on the bad guy side. But overall, man, it's a blast all the way through. You can tell John Ostrander was having a lot of fun and getting super creative with it. And this is something I kind of missed from modern day comics, where we do have certain writers today that they'll still push the boundaries and they still like to write really topical and really interesting stuff. But John Ostrander at the time was really just firing on all cylinders. And it's really fascinating to me just how much he's able to incorporate. I mean, the first few issues, Ronald Reagan shows up and he's talking to Amanda Waller. And it's pretty clear it is Ronald Reagan that is talking to Amanda Waller. You get Amanda Waller's origin. You get the origin of Rick Flag. This is all within the first 2 to 3 issues. And it's actually all pretty compelling. And I really love it so far. Again, I'm going to warn people out there, especially people that are very sensitive, that you have to understand the context of the time that this was written in. This was 1987. It was a time period where it was very much pro-America, pro-Ronald Reagan, and it's just fun all the way through, honestly. And I was kind of wondering, well, are they going to kill some characters? Maybe DC was like, no. Ostrander kills off characters pretty quickly throughout that series.
Lives up
and Captain Boomerang is as big of an asshole as you would hope he is in that series. I love it.
I'm so surprised that one didn't get an omnibus release in time for this movie. I don't know if maybe like DC didn't want to put in as much marketing, because I don't know if y'all remember when the first Suicide Squad movie hit, they had so many different paperbacks coming out. They have a few this time, but it was like, I don't know, if I did the numbers, I might just be overinflating the previous stuff. But from what I recall, and stating again, I don't have the best memory, but from what I recall, there were just numerous books. It was like random books for every single member, all these different collections that came out. But we never had, we didn't get like an omnibus release. And now this time we are getting a few. We're getting some Suicide Squad reprints that have not been printed before. I do not think as many, but just so surprising that they've re-released the entirety of Ostrander's run across the 8 paperbacks. Nothing, not even a thicker paperback release, not even deluxe editions.
I am very surprised at that as well, considering especially how much James Gunn has touted Ostrander's run as the inspiration for the movie that just came out, that DC didn't pounce on it and said, let's put out an omnibus of this, because it is classic material. I mean, Ostrander's run was the Suicide Squad run, and to some extent still is the Suicide Squad run. For a lot of people, when you say, hey, I'm reading Suicide Squad, I can only imagine the reason they didn't do it was, like I said, maybe some of the content that they saw in there was like, okay, well, we really don't want to, our movie's coming out, we really don't want to piss off too many people that are really sensitive about this stuff. I could see them saying that, or maybe I could even see them saying, well, a lot of the characters here really aren't in the movie. Almost, with the exception of Rick Flag, there's really nobody in this iteration of the Suicide Squad that is in the movie that's coming out.
I wonder also if it's because that the first one was such a like bomb, both like critically and as far as like I don't think it made enough money at all. I don't know the numbers there, but I wonder if like they were trying to be a little more hesitant going into this one just in case. And I don't think they should have been. I wouldn't have been, because you have James Gunn attached to it, who has an extremely good track record. His films and his style seemed, obviously that it matched so well for this. So I don't think they should have been hesitant, but I wonder if that is part of it. Which means now that if it does succeed, even in a COVID Delta variant world, if enough people are in the theaters, maybe we will see an Ostrander Suicide Squad Omni or 2 released in the near future, because DC has been getting kind of into a groove of some great upcoming releases. I know we all saw stuff like Brubaker's Catwoman, Denny O'Neil's Question, and we have to be super excited about that Flintstones Deluxe Edition from Mark Russell. Just a lot of cool stuff that they're finally seems like they might have a little bit more confidence in their collect editions department. And on top of, like, in a related but tangential topic, my brother-in-law shared with me that Todd McFarlane is resurrecting the DC collectibles line that was closed off whenever the whole editorial bloodbath happened.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. Like, they're bringing a lot of DC. Looks like they're really finally there's some good positive movement and traction at DC as far as the comics and collectibles and that whole area of things go. And I'm hoping it continues to trend in that direction. I've not read any of the new stuff from Infinite Frontier, so I can't say if the current comics are good, bad, meh, or what.
Yeah.
But at the very least, those other things are good news.
Have you read Tom Taylor's run? It was very brief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
That was great. I loved it.
Brilliant. Loved it. From beginning to end, it was great.
He had, like, returning characters and a bunch of new characters, just made it really good. Have y'all, speaking of Suicide Squad, this is not a read from this year, but it's probably time I've reread it and fingers crossed not dislike it this time. But have y'all read Ecstatics from Peter Milligan?
Yep. Love it. I love Ecstatics.
I've never read it, and it's on my list.
It is the, like, Suicide Squad at Marvel in the idea that, like, nobody's safe. Like, none of these characters are safe from being killed in terrible ways. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, from the get-go, that's the entire point. Like, issue number 1, they, like, Milligan puts it down your throat that, like, that's what this
I love the first issue because you're reading it and you're going, oh, what? Wait, what?
It sets the tone so perfectly.
Very much so. You get to the end of that first issue and you go, what's going to happen next?
Well, I know Doop survives to teach sex education.
God bless him.
Doop could just survive anything regardless, though.
What's the where can I find the origin of Doop? Is Ecstatics where he shows up?
That's where he first shows up, and then next major appearance was Wolverine and the X-Men, and he did also have I believe it was Milligan who returned to do a miniseries, all new Doop, around the all new Marvel era.
Yeah.
I need more Doop in my life.
Yeah,
fun fact,
that miniseries.
Okay.
Fun fact, that one-shot issue of Doop as the janitor, and you find out what he's actually doing in Wolverine and the X-Men, is one of my favorite one-shot issues of all time. It's great.
I haven't read that either.
The one he's like popping around throughout the issue, like visiting everyone.
Yeah, well,
have all read on art for that issue.
I think so. Well, the concept is Doop pops in and out of Wolverine and the X-Men, where basically Wolverine and the X-Men is Wolverine has now taken over Charles Xavier's school. And Doop pops in and out, and you think he's just the janitor, and you see him in the background, and he's cleaning stuff up. It turns out that once you get to that one-shot issue, Doop is the one that is keeping the school single-handedly afloat, and at the same time kind of saving the universe while he's doing his janitorial duties. It's so great. It's fantastic.
That's an aspect I really loved about that series was like, and honestly about Jason Aaron and most of what he writes is he writes with such purpose where like anything, I feel like anything that happens in his material eventually will get some meaning behind it and some gravity behind it. And so you have like all these little nonsense things that might be happening in the background, like the stuff with Doop or like the Bamfs, for instance, throughout that series. And as you go forward, sometimes not even in the same series, he'll come back and be like, well, here's this. And you're like, oh man, and it just brings context at a really great level to everything that he does. And that's why his run, on Wolverine is my favorite run on Wolverine, is because like from the start, from like the very first one shots and single issue stories and story arcs and stuff, and even backup stories that he was doing before he got onto the Weapon X series, Jason Aaron was like setting up little just nuggets and little crumbs that he would pick up later throughout his ongoing run. And then it makes it all so much more rewarding when you're reading through all of that, the Weapon X series, his ongoing Wolverine run, the Wolverine Goes to Hell stuff, and then that leading directly into Schism, which leads directly into Wolverine and the X-Men, which then goes into his finale on everything with Amazing X-Men. It just like this huge overarching X-Men Wolverine story that were like everything mattered and everything had some sort of answer to it. Like even little things that you're like, whatever, like the Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine miniseries with the time crystals and shit, like even that comes back. It was like, really? You really gave us this again? Like that? It's so stupid.
I don't think
As a side note,
Schism. Where the hell is Schism?
Do you have?
I have everything else you just said, and why would I not
Wolverine
have?
Goes to Hell omnibus?
Yeah,
it's in there.
Oh well, that's why I don't have it.
The only this is the help Jess with his collection corner.
Thank you.
This show. If you have Wolverine by Jason Aaron, Volume 1, Wolverine Goes to Hell, and Wolverine and the X-Men, those three omnis, there are just a couple of small slices of material that you would not have that he wrote. There's the Japan's Most Wanted digital first miniseries. It was collected in an oversized hardcover. He co-wrote that with Jason Latour, and I don't remember who was on art. I think it was like Paco Medina or something.
Okay, I have that. I see it over there.
Okay, so you have that one. That one's not super duper important, but it does have a little bit to do with, I believe, the Silver Samurai. Connects with one of his arcs. And
where should I put it in regards to those three omnis?
I think I put it just after, but that's not like my chronological order or anything. I just put it so I could have the three together. Right. And then the other would be Amazing X-Men Volume 1, The Search for Nightcrawler, I believe is the subtitle. It's just a paperback edition.
Yeah, I think that's over here.
Okay, so that I believe that those are the only additional things that did not get collected within those omnis. And the Search for Nightcrawler bit is annoying because it's only been released in paperback, so it doesn't sit on the shelf alongside the others in that same size. I wish they would have just put it at the end of Wolverine and the X-Men, but unfortunately that is not the way that cookie crumbled.
I think it's out of print too.
You've got somebody right now just writing all this stuff down.
Quest for Nightcrawler?
Quest for Nightcrawler, is that what it's called? Yeah, Amazing X-Men Volume 1.
Yeah, okay. I see it right here. Okay.
I think Volume 2 is like World War Wendigo or something with Juggernaut. I don't remember. There's 3 volumes total, but he only wrote the first part.
Okay, so Amazing X-Men and Japan's Most Wanted will be read alongside Wolverine and the X-Men.
You got it, everything. Just
solid, man.
I would say the Japan's Most Wanted. You can read that after the arc where he goes against Silver Samurai, and then Amazing X-Men you read after everything, basically.
Okay.
Or maybe like I think there's one arc of Wolverine and the X-Men that might have come after or at the same time, but you can read it after everything else. Do you need Aaron Wolverine Volume 1 to understand Wolverine Goes to Hell? You don't need it, but I would recommend it because, like I was mentioning, there are little things that, like, the material that's in Wolverine Goes to Hell will reference back to stuff that happened, like the Get Mystique arc, the stuff in the Wolverine Weapon X, and the Dark Reign, the List one shot from there. Like in the Dark Reign, the List one shot, it has a lot of stuff to do with Weapon Plus, and he also explores that stuff in Weapon X, the Tomorrow Comes Today arc, I think it was called, with like the Deathlocks. And then those things actually wind up informing Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, because then like Rick Remender pulls up on the world and stuff in the Deathlock Nation arc and utilizes a lot of the stuff that he was doing, that Aaron was doing over there. So like,
yeah,
Remender, when he came over at Marvel, at least when he started working on the X-Men, was like kind of, he was branching off of a lot of the stuff that Aaron was doing himself. And then Remender did the same type of thing where all of his work referenced to each other. So like Uncanny X-Force led, of course, into Uncanny Avengers and Axis and Uncanny Avengers Volume 2 and Rage of Ultron. But then also you had like the material from the Deathlock Nation story arc spun off into stuff that would happen in Secret Avengers, and Secret Avengers was connected to the stuff that happened in Venom, because Venom winds up joining. And then his Captain America run had connection back to Uncanny X-Force because he utilizes Weapon Minus, which is like a part of the whole Weapon Plus thing. So Remender did the same as like Aaron was doing with his whole dealio.
The answer to your question, Chris, is we got a letter from IST this week, an email that said they didn't get it from their distributor this week.
Yeah, it didn't come in from Diamond.
Yeah.
Which happens from time to time.
Yeah, they didn't get a couple of things in. I think.
It was that one of the variants to the Jurgens Captain America and something else. I don't remember.
Yeah, so just hang on, Chris. Don't go anywhere else. Just hang on.
And they extend the loyalty discount to reach the dates. Like they did it for I think 3 more days. So the assumption is like it should be there by the end of this week. But if it's not, they tend to extend it because they know like people like to roll that loyalty between week to week and keep that 2% going.
Chris is saying they didn't get Spider-Man by Mick Farland. You continue to keep your 2%. And since we're on Chris Verde, anyone getting that Golden Age Cap Omni? Right here, dude. Cap fighting Red Skull in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, that's a great cover. I'm definitely getting that. I mean, I already ordered it. So, what other Chris Verde questions can we answer? Okay, 2%, and I stay with IST. Okay, good guy, Chris Verde. Way to go, dude. Gabrielle says, I think it was mostly Marvel titles that they couldn't get in time. Yeah, I think that's where the mix-up happened. And Shorty is thanking Lou for Ted Lasso, which my wife is excited to see after Schitt's Creek.
Diamond Dogs, man. I love Ted Lasso. It's such a fun show. It's my pickup show whenever I'm feeling kind of bummed out.
Okay, awesome. I can't wait. I don't want Schitt's Creek to be over with, though. I just love that show.
Just watch it on constant cycle like people do with The Office.
Yeah. Right. It's not the way the Stroopwafel crumbles. We had a discussion about Stroopwafels on Monday.
And how delicious they are.
Yeah, I haven't had them yet, so Aiku even sent me pictures of his afternoon tea, enjoying Stroopwafel and tea. I think it was today, and they looked amazing.
I
And
know you're supposed to let the steam from your
yeah,
hot drink like kind of melt the caramel on the inside.
he had it on top of his tea, and he bit into it, and it was all caramelly.
I like though, like the first time I had one was on a plane, and that flight spoiled the shit out of me because I've never been on a plane that's had as good of a snack as that Stroopwafel. And I've been so disappointed because every time it's just, Biscoff cookies, and I'm like, these are fine. But
it's not a Stroopwafel though.
It was cold. It was like, but I really liked it cold because like I like when caramel is cold. Like if you have caramel in ice cream and it's chewy, it's like it lasts longer. I don't know. That's just me. And I'm sure I would love it hot as well. I've only had them cold, and then I went out and bought more of them because I love them on the plane so much. I bought more from a World Market, just a box of cookies, Stroopwafels, and stuff, and had them room temperature, and they're delicious either way.
I had 100 grand bar for dinner, so I love caramel.
100 grands are very underrated.
Oh, they're my fave. That is like a bunch of caramel in that candy bar.
Even more so than what was the one that I texted you that I finally tried? The Goo Goo?
Oh, the Goo Goo Cluster? Goo Goo Cluster's more strategically in there with the peanuts and the chocolate.
Well, I mean, like favorite-wise, I thought that
no. Yeah, Goo Goo Cluster's still my favorite, but it's harder to find. So I would say
mainstream.
100 grand from mainstream candy. Yeah, but Goo Goo Cluster.
Goo Goo Cluster is an indie candy. It's not mainstream. It's little known. It's kind of,
you have to get it at like a candy store, a 5 and dime, like that.
Yeah, I did. I went to a candy store about 30 minutes out from our house and got that. Well, I love cookies and candy and stuff, but let me tell you guys about a book that I did read.
We're talking about books.
And I apologize to both of y'all because it is a manga one-shot. It's not physically available, but it's something that I highly recommend everyone read because it was such a powerful comic. It was such a powerful story. It's Look Back by Tatsuki Fujimoto, the creator of Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch. And Fujimoto is known for his work, like the mainstream ongoing series that he's done, both of those, Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man, are very out there conceptually. And he has a strange sense of humor, one that makes you believe he probably is on some sort of substance at any given time. Like his Twitter account, he role plays like his little sister tweeting about him. He's very odd. So Fujimoto's an odd man, but this one shot was such a powerful 1-2 punch of emotions that basically it seems like a self-insert in a story about his experiences as a creator, but also it was released in time for the second anniversary, the same date, the second anniversary of when the Kyoto animation studio had burnt down. There was an arsonist that burnt it down and killed many people. It was like the biggest incident in Japan for decades that, someone had killed many people like that. And so the story itself follows a young girl in grade school who wants to be a manga artist, and she's really good for her age, and she draws this stuff that everyone loves and these little comics that are in like the school newspaper or whatever it was. But there's another kid in her class whose artwork is insanely detailed. They're the same age, but this other kid's artwork is like just mind-blowing. And so she's feeling like kind of inadequate in comparison. But this other kid is not in school. The other kid is truant. They stay home all the time. So she's never met this kid. And at the end of when they're graduating from middle school or whatever it was, she goes to drop off the diploma at that other kid's house and accidentally drops a little comic that she had drawn, like kind of poking fun at that kid, drops it under the door by accident when she's leaving the diploma there. And she's like, oh shit. And she runs out the door. She's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like, I don't want them to come out. She's never met this person. She's very cautious. She's very scared. And then the truant child, the girl that she'd never met before, comes out running out. She's like, wait, you're this person, aren't you? And she's like, yeah, I love your work. I'm a huge fan. I've loved your work. I see it every time that, we get the newspapers and stuff. I absolutely love it. You've inspired me so much. And wow, this other person that I consider to be a rival loves my work. That's crazy. And so they grow together. They become really good friends really quickly, and they grow together to work with each other. And they start publishing manga together at a young age. Like when they're teenagers and stuff, they're submitting work, and it's getting published, winning awards. They're getting one-shots published. And the girl, I'm going into spoiler territory with this, but it is a one shot, and I want to talk about like why it's so powerful. The girl gets the opportunity to have a serialized manga, and she jumps on it, but her friend is like, I don't want to do that. I want to go to school. So they kind of break up, and she goes to school. And as the girl's manga is running and is very successful, and like people are talking about, oh, it's getting an anime adaptation now. All of a sudden one day, and this is the big spoiler, there's a massacre at the school that her friend went to. And she finds out quickly that her friend had died. And so the rest of the story is her looking back, so to say, at how her life could have been if she just did not become friends with her, and that this girl might have lived, or like, what if she had went and was able to save her and stuff like that, like the what ifs. And it's a very like powerful story. It's very moving, and there's a lot of layers behind what happens in there, and from the perspective of the creator itself, because he's paying homage to the creators that were killed in that fire, but B, he's also kind of discussing his own views on what it's like to have because both of the girls are like supposed to represent different sides of him as a creator. And he started out very young. His first published works were when he was like 17 years old. And what it's like for him to have started to move up so fast, and the pressures that you have from the world around you, and what it might feel like to have a part of you die within you. People take different things from it. It's very good. It's available to read on both the Shonen Jump app and the Manga Plus app. I would imagine it's on the Viz Media app as well. It's free. It's like 140 pages. I recommend it very heavily. I would be surprised if it's not going to win awards this year, and then eventually get published physically, because it is getting published physically in Japan. They've already announced that, but eventually in English as well, especially given how popular Chainsaw Man has become. That one, I would say hands down, is the most moving thing that I've read this year. It really impacted me when I read it. I read through it like 2 or 3 times because of that, like just to kind of take it in. And it's something that I could see myself easily rereading on a regular basis, and that's not something that I really do. So for Jess, hopefully they make a movie about it.
or they publish it like what's that book that they just came out with, the deluxe, that it's in Western style order. It's like on volume 3 now.
Blade of the Immortal?
Yeah, exactly. If it comes out in that form, I'll give it a shot.
I guarantee it won't. The only reason they did Blade of the Immortal that way is because they had worked really hard on the original release in flipping it, because audiences at the time, like all manga was really published that way. And they worked very hard in conjunction with Samura, the creator of the series, to like get it flipped in a way that was effective and not just like flipping the pages, but like rearranging panels in effective orders and flipping individual panels.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, so there was a lot put into it, and they wanted to use that again for this. There's someone, one of the editors explained it somewhere about why they chose to do that.
Let's see. There is some love for that book. Wolfgang was saying that he. Wolfgang said that Look Back was really great. But Aw TV said he loves Paydays, and I love Paydays too. So I just wanted to shout out to Payday. Leave like Take Fives. Those are good.
Take Fives, I don't see much of, but they're the ones that have like pretzel, caramel, peanut, other stuff. And then Paydays, I grew up. My grandfather on my mom's side, my papa, he loved Paydays because he couldn't have chocolate. He loved eating candy and sweets and stuff. So his sweet of choice was Paydays, and they would have a whole box, like those boxes at the grocery store. He would put them up in the cabinet, and then every day just pull one out. And
that's living.
I came to really like them, but I've come to see recently that apparently not a lot of people, or there are a lot of people that are not fans of Paydays, because they're like, really, this is the
clowns.
Yeah. And then there's
people.
Baby Ruths, which are basically just chocolate covered Paydays.
Not a fan of the chocolate on Baby Ruth. That it feels cheap to me. I love Paydays. Oh yeah, there's no way I could possibly eat corn nuts now. I would break every single tooth in my head. I used to love those in my teens and 20s. But
that was my mom's road trip snack of choice when I was growing up.
So good.
But those things, like the odor just emanates throughout the vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's so strong that like we would be driving and she'd bust open the corn nuts and I'd be like, you need to finish those now because I'm feeling sick. Because it was so strong. Like I enjoyed them, but the odor was just overwhelming. It took over my like Cheetos or whatever the hell I had.
Here's a question from Nman40. Jess, I liked when you had your Q&A videos back in 2017, 2019. I enjoyed those. I also enjoyed the Riley and Lou Q&A videos prior to OmniBros. Any chance of those anytime soon?
Well, I know we do Q&A episodes on here every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm happy to do a live Q&A whenever you like, Nman40. Sure. That's I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, Q&A videos are really fun. I'm having trouble putting my words together.
It also means we don't have to come up with an idea for a show.
Yeah, that's when you see Q&A from us.
It's an easy one.
It's been a long week. We haven't thought of a concept, and we're just like Q&A.
Lou, do you have a book? Other book?
Yeah, man. Give me a second. I can pull it up. Oh, right. So my next choice, and this is probably going to end up on my Omnis if they don't botch the ending, is Strange Adventures by Tom King and Mitch Gerards.
I haven't read any of that.
Oh, Jess. Oh, you're in for a treat. It hasn't quite hit the heights for me of Vision or say some of his other books that he's put out like that, Mr. Miracle, but it's up there, man. It's really up there. I've discussed this book maybe once before with you, Jess. Essentially what it is that you've got Adam Strange, who he's back on Earth now, and he's published basically what is a memoir of his life and his account of what happened to the planet that he gets teleported to. For those of you that don't know, Adam Strange, he's a, what would you say, Golden Age, Silver Age hero?
I think he's a Silver Age character, yeah. That's when I collected him, in the Silver Age. In Strange
Adam Strange is a Silver Age hero.
Sorry, Mystery in Space.
Strange Space. Adam Strange is a Silver Age hero who, the basic concept is he gets hit with what's called a Zeta Beam. And the Zeta Beam teleports him to this planet and he is basically a superhero on that planet. But the Zeta Beam will then teleport him back to Earth at any given time. He doesn't really have control of when that happens. It just happens. He comes back to Earth and he publishes his memoir. At the book signing of his memoir, he has a fan that comes up to him and he says, "You are a war criminal. What you did on that planet was terrible and you should be judged for it, and you are a horrible person." And that shakes him to his core. You then go about an issue later. This is still super early on in the run. And what ends up happening is that Adam Strange ends up finding out the person that accused him of being a war criminal is dead. That person was murdered. So this kind of dovetails and spirals into this whole investigation involving one of my favorite DC heroes that doesn't get enough love, Mr. Terrific, the revamped Mr. Terrific, the black one, with the jacket and everything like that, who he is tasked by Adam Strange to figure out what exactly happened to this person and what exactly happened to Adam Strange on that planet that he's being accused of being a war criminal. Along the way, you get more into deeper conversations involving what Adam Strange really did on that planet and what happened with his wife and his daughter. It's great. It's so, so good, man. I mentioned Mitch Gerard and I mentioned Tom King. The person that I didn't mention was Doc Shaner. Doc Shaner also pulls art duties on this. And Doc Shaner is on fire every single issue of this book. Mitch Gerard is no slouch, as you may know. Doc Shaner, and I really am not putting Mitch Gerard down when I say this. As you know, Doc Shaner outshines Mitch Gerard in this book. Shaner is crushing every single page. If I remember correctly, they kind of split the book in interesting ways because Doc Shaner handles everything that happens on the planet and Mr. Gerard handles everything that happens on Earth. It's beautiful. It's great. It's really Tom King doing what he does best, that 12-issue, 13-issue maxi series, and it gives him a chance to shine where his strengths really are. I was not the biggest fan of his Batman run. I think it kind of had highs and lows. But for me, this is really where Tom King shines. I think he's got a Supergirl book that it's either about to start or has already started.
Good.
But I'm really looking forward to that. So.
And Lars is shouting out for his Rorschach and Batman Catwoman. I haven't read any of those either. And I'm not going to read Strange Adventures until it comes out in deluxe hardcover, which is 2025.
I think you'll really benefit from having the whole story completed. I think, once again, Tom King for me shines once the whole story is told. And I didn't know this was also a Mr. Terrific book. On top of that, Mr. Terrific being one of my favorite heroes, that was kind of just the cherry on top for me for this book. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I can read it online and then be caught up and then wait for the hardcover. So that's probably what I'll do. I forget all about anything current since I'm not reading really any current floppies or anything. But
is it already done?
One more issue. It's on issue 11.
Okay. I think same for Rorschach. That one is on 11 as well. I'm like 5-6 months behind on reading issues of comics and stuff. So, but I think that I'll probably follow the Jess idea and either read it, because I read the first several issues, either read it completely whenever the collection does come out, and I'm sure it won't be long, or just read the whole thing at once digitally, because I found that like it's easier for me to sometimes it's easier for me to read through a whole series in one go. And sometimes it's easier for me to bounce around because I'm not like focusing on a single task. It's rather like several micro tasks rather than being like, oh, this is one big 12-issue thing. I don't know. That's just the way my mind likes to work sometimes.
yeah, I get it.
ADD is a hell of a drug.
Right. Derek says, have you noticed the different things they are doing with the Strange Adventure covers? I know that Mitch Brad's posed to on his bed in spandex.
Yeah.
He sent me a picture on his tweet for the shot that he was when he was drawing. What are they doing something special with the covers?
I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, it's something it's a surprise.
Just you should read the book.
Okay.
It's so good, Jeff. It's so good. it's as of right now, it's probably going in my top 3 for the year. It's really good.
Wow. I'm gonna have to like actually read a lot of stuff before we do our end of year show, or I'm gonna have nothing to talk about. I'm gonna be like, yeah, that first month of comics was pretty good this year. I think this was last year, but I want to mention this because it might not be on a lot of people's radars. And the collection is coming out at the end of this month. Swamp Thing New Roots by Mark Russell is a good, it was one of those digital first series. DC in the past year or two have been pushing a lot of those digital first with like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and all of those. And fans of Swampy like myself were graced with a series, for the Big Green Dude. And it was good stuff. It's Mark Russell. It is what you would expect from Mark Russell, but it's in my opinion, it's very new reader friendly. So like if you've never read a Swamp Thing comic before, it's something that you could get into to start enjoying the character. Like I said, I think that was last year that it was published and when I read it, but it is coming out the end of this month from DC. It's just a paperback.
Ooh, okay, good.
It's 9 issues, if I'm not mistaken. The first 7 are written by Mark Russell, and then someone else comes in. I forget who for the last 2. It's not like they take over his storyline. It goes into a different storyline.
Okay.
I haven't yet read the Ram V series, and I'm thinking maybe I should just wait until it wraps because it's 10 issues, and I think they're on 6 right now, and read that. But God,
that has to be good.
Swamp Thing.
To me, that has to be good. Ram V writing Swamp Thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Freaking
That's one thing you and I share is our love for Swamp Thing. So I'm really looking forward to Ram V's when it wraps up.
All I need is for someone else to give some more love to Animal Man, and I'll be just peachy.
Well, I'd be peachy if you'd sell me your Hulks, but it's not happening. So
didn't Gio say he was going to sell him? Don't be.
Yeah, he sold me his Jeff Parker Hulks. So
now I don't have to feel bad.
That's a great.
I want you to feel bad.
That's a great set, man. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
I'm excited to get it back. I should have never let it go. Come back to me, darling. I should have never let you go.
I've been doing that a lot lately, rebuying things that I sold years ago, but it was like when I first had gotten married and we had 0 money and I needed money to like buy groceries, and I sold like, God, probably a couple hundred books. And now I'm going through and like rebuying all these little series and stuff that I used to have. And it's fun. It's fun to revisit those. I'm only doing that with manga though, because the comics are all getting re-released anyway in more preferable formats to me. So like, I'm not going to go back and rebuy. Like one of the things I sold at that time was the TMNT series because I knew that the hardcovers were going to happen. And now we got 13 hardcovers. So
awesome. I love those books.
So colorful on the shelf. Did y'all see those TMNT Power Rangers figures?
I saw them, yeah. If I was into Power Rangers, then I'd really be into those figures, but I never quite caught the bug of Power Rangers like you younger folk did.
My brother-in-law is, I am as well, but he's super into both of those, and he's more of the action figure collector, so he like pooped his pants whenever they first dropped the first set with I think it's Mikey and Donatello as the yellow and black Rangers, and then the second set popped up and it was it Mikey and Leo? I don't remember.
I think the next one isn't April.
The second one was April and Leo, I think.
And then Shredder, I think, just got announced.
And yeah, because I was like, I was talking to him and I'm like, oh man, I bet the third set is gonna then be Raph with Shredder, and I was like, man, that's gonna be the cool one because Shredder had the best design out of all. And then it was with Tommy as a foot soldier, and I was like, what kind of bullshit is this? And then yeah, they did the single release for Shredder, and I was like, okay, that's cool. That way, if all I want is the Green Ranger Shredder, I can just go for that. But they look pretty sick, and that was a pretty fun little storyline. Not like the greatest thing in the world. It's like those TMNT Batman comics that came out from Tynion or Tinian. It's the same type of like vibe I got. It's like it's fun to see these characters cross over. It's nothing monumental. It's not going to break your world in half or anything, but if you're a fan of both franchise, it's really nice to see.
Well, I read the Power Ranger books. Tyler got me to read the Power Ranger deluxe hardcover books.
How'd that go for you?
Good. I read all 4. I read up to Off the Grid or whatever the 4th one was.
That was like the weak point of the series so far.
I sold them, but I was happy to read them. I don't want Tyler to find out I sold them. I don't know why I did it in public.
But now
Jeff, you got one then?
Yeah. Speaking of Tinian, Wind. I'll show you art while I read the back, as I am wont to do, because the art is by Michael Hodialnus. And it reminds me of Jorge Corona's art, which means it's really awesome. In a world where magical heritage is punishable by death, a young boy named Wind must hide his true identity and pointy ears from everyone in Pipe Town, even if it means he'll never have the normal life he wants. But when his secret is threatened, Wind is forced to leave his home behind to embark on a dangerous quest that will put him at the heart of a royal conspiracy beyond imagination. Now on the run with the boy of his dreams, his best friend Oakley, and a literal prince, Wind will have to embrace the magic within himself if he wants to save them from the shocking dangers that await. This is the first part of a series. It is really a great fantasy, brawling, epic. I loved every minute of this. It is super fun. Tinian so far really has become one of my go-to writers now. Especially with this book is just really amazing. With a deep storyline based on a kingdom in peril, the forces that are keeping it down, the little savior who can help it, and the magic that springs out. And then I really dig it when the magic shows up. So I really I'd say more, except I'm physically and emotionally exhausted. So Wind needs to be on everybody's list. This is from Boom Studios, and this is like a special edition. It's also in paperback. And the first part, this collects issues 1 through I don't know. It collects the first part, book 1. Oh wait, here it is. 1 through 5. And this counts actually for this year because this book came out this year. It's really, really good, and I can highly recommend it to everybody. And the collector says Hoopla has Wind, so you can read it on Hoopla.
It looks thick for a 5-issue hardcover.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's boss. It's really cool.
I thought you were gonna say it's like 10 issues or something.
Yeah, they're pretty thick issues. Lots of story in there. It's a really good deal.
Boom is kind of reminding me of Image around 2011 lately, where Boom is putting out some really choice books. And originally, boom, you wouldn't think it would be the company to put out some of the stuff they've been putting out. I mean, it's been great. A good 2-3 years for Boom lately. They've been crushing it.
And they actually reprinted the Irredeemable omnibus in softcover. So I would like to say that Boom really has its stuff together, because that's major for them to reprint Irredeemable, because that's always come out for 2 seconds and gone out of print. That needs to be evergreen, since it's my favorite book ever. So of course I think it needs to be evergreen, but so I think they're so now I think what's the other one? Incorruptible. That one might be out of print, so they need to reprint that one. But yeah, you're right. They're putting out a ton of great stuff, and they're reprinting stuff, which I think is really important.
I think
that's my favorite last name to pronounce. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Stepan. Good to see you. Good to see you.
They must be doing very with these changes and all these new series and stuff. They've got to be making really great profit if they can start doing reprints like that. I think it shows like what they're doing is working, their strategy. And I believe I talked about, because I read an article about what their strategy was, and I think I talked about it on the show, of like, you know, and they're not trying to like shotgun release like multiple things at once. They really
image.
Yeah, because like if that happens, you don't get to focus as much on like promoting something and building that hype and excitement for something. They're like standing behind one release at a time, whether it be, you know, every month or every other month or whatever their release schedule is for like new things to start coming out. But you know, putting all the marketing on that one thing, and then by the time it comes out, people everywhere have seen ads for those things, and you're like, well, now I want to try Wind, or now I want to try, you know, back when they first started doing this, it was like, you know, Once and Future. Now, you know, I've got to pick up this series that this creator that I know from here is putting out. It's just a really good strategy, and I think it seems like it's really working out for them.
But and isn't it Boom that's putting out Something Is Killing the Children?
That
thing's just on fire. Every issue is just on
fire.
It
is. It really is.
Lars brings up a good point that I'm sure if I had more time, I would talk about. But Reckless is awesome.
I read it
last year to this year. That is just a gift to everyone to get 2 Reckless books per year the last 2 years.
Yeah. Have you read the new one yet?
I don't think I have it yet. It's ordered but not in. I've only read the first 2.
Okay, that's the one I'm talking about. The second one. Wait, let me double check. I have it on my tablet.
Is it Friend of the Devil? Friend of the Devil is the last one I've read.
Let me take a look. Yep, that's the one I read. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's really good. It's very good.
And that sounds, it feels really realistic too, like way too realistic.
It's very good. I enjoyed it.
To Collector, I don't know if this is a good idea, but go ahead and do it and see how you like unemployment. No Deja Thoris statue for you, buddy. If you read that book to your 5th graders.
Riley, you got one more for us before?
Yeah, before we tap out here. In time to see Suicide Squad.
I don't think I have anything I've not talked about before. I think like the main things that I've read this year that are not manga are I reread Godzilla in Hell.
Oh yeah, I need to read that.
And that was just it was more fantastic now than when I read it before. I talked about that at length in one of the previous few shows. Just how many like references I picked up on that I didn't pick up on as strongly, or that I forgot about, towards like the Divine Comedy and stuff, and it was just really interesting to see that, and just really happy that it finally got reprinted. First of all, and I think early in the year, before I kind of fell off on everything, the X of Swords or Ten of Swords crossover had happened, and that was one of the last big things that I read in comics before I fell behind. And that was it just gave me those feelings of like classic X-Men events where it has everything. It's got action, adventure, comedy, dumb scenes, like, you know, people dancing and drinking and stuff, but like it felt like the X-Men to me. So it was nice. I don't have anything else to real depth over, I guess.
Well, we can. Would you, Lou?
Huh? No. I was gonna say, if you let me slide in one quick last one. The trailer for this actually came out today, so I picked up issue 1 all over again for Why the Last Man. I was very curious to see Why the Last Man is in my top 5 books of all time, easily. I absolutely love the series. I adored it. I haven't read it in, I want to say, close to 10 years at this point. And it was interesting to kind of see real quick what the series was and what Brian K. Vaughan became after that series, because I think that was the series that put him out on the map. And a lot of times when you go back and you see some of a creator's earlier work, it can be clunky, it can be hit or miss, and it can be not as great. It's still fantastic. I mean, that first issue from the get, you want to talk about capturing an audience and really grabbing your reader, what you strive to do with the first issue and setting things up. Why the Last Man does that all within 20 to 30 pages. And knowing how things play out, it's really interesting to see how far ahead Vaughn had everything planned out in terms of story and where we're going and what the big reveals are and stuff like that. I think the only caveat is that it's really interesting because if you look at Vaughn when he was writing Why the Last Man and you compare him to the Vaughn that's writing Saga, he was very prose heavy back then. He was very prose heavy. He was writing a lot in terms of the bubbles and the dialogue. And versus in Saga, where it's apparent that you could see he gives Fiona Staples a lot more free reign and it's very light on dialogue at times. The thing with Why the Last Man, and very few books for me today capture what Why the Last Man captured for me. And in fact, I could probably remember the last book that really did that for me, which was Murder Falcon. Within the first issue, I would say almost nobody does that for me these days. You know, we read a lot of books, and you know, a lot of books we read them, and then they just kind of go into the back of our mind, and we're like, okay, well, that was done. Very few books stay with me. The last one being Murder Falcon, and Why the Last Man is still that book. That first issue is still incredible, and I can't wait to see what they do with it on FX.
Nice. A lot of the books we talked about can be purchased at InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50% off. Loyalty discounts add another 2% to that. There's always a gift card worth $50 given at the end of every month to a lucky viewer like you up there. $50 or more in an order gets you free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com.
Didn't even see. Pull it out.
Okay, there you go. So, the Omnibus Collector, where can they find you on the internet?
Anywhere that the Omnibus Collector is the thing that I call myself. So you
Right on, man.
find me here on the YouTube. You can find me over on the TikTok making dumb content there.
Like 10 million viewers.
There was the one that got like 2-point-something million views. You can find me on, I'm back on Twitter, though I don't post much, and I didn't realize that my name is too long for Twitter, so I'm just at OmniCollector. And I also don't post much on Instagram, but I am on there right now as the Omnibus Collector.
Inman40 wants to know, are you doing Map My X tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. That's on. It should be Saturday, I believe. If it's tomorrow, then I'm gonna have to move some things around, but I'm pretty sure it was for Saturday.
Is that a show you do with Omar?
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking at our Saturday at 8 p.m. EST. That's when we are doing it.
And make sure you don't watch that, because that's when I'm doing Batter Days in the Batcave at 8 p.m. Omar, that bastard knows that. So fuck him.
I think we just had to try and get around the time that, since Peter's in New Zealand, trying to find a time that works for him. And then our fourth co-host, Odefel, she's usually pretty flexible. It's just Peter's like, oh, I've got D&D at that time or something like that.
Like
he's like half a day away from everyone.
Yeah. Great. Comics Guide, where can they find you?
Comics Guide 101 on YouTube and Comics Guide 101 on Twitter.
Okay, and remember to watch me, OmniDog, Saturday at 8 on Saturdays in the Batcave. Peace and love, peace and love. And hello to my buddy Farhan. Peace and love, peace and love. We love you all. Thank you very much. Thanks to IST. Thanks to everybody that was watching, our viewers. Thanks to everybody that's watching afterwards. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and feel free to